If I was to ask you, what's one characteristic of truly successful people? What would you say? Well, here's what Mr. Rohn has to say about taking responsibility. He says, accepting responsibility is one of the highest forms of human maturity. A willingness to be accountable, to put yourself on the line, is really the defining characteristic of adulthood. Now, you can't be any more obscure than that. And in this video, I want to take you through 5 keys to assist you to take full responsibility for your life and where you are right now and where you want to be in 2023. G'day, my name is Willem, and on this channel I share the philosophies and strategies that Mr. Jim Rohn shared with me over 30 years ago. Mr. Rohn said that if you want more, you must become more. And I have found that by applying the philosophies and the strategies that Mr. Rohn shared with me, I've been able to live a life on my terms, and I truly wish the same for you. Now, in this video, we're going to go through the 5 keys to taking full responsibility for your life. And if you're not completely happy with some areas of your life, then this is probably the place to start. If you hang around to the end, I'm also going to give you a bonus. It's a method of taking a very quick personal inventory of where you are right now, taking responsibility for it, and then deciding what you're going to do in 2023 to make some changes. So hang around to the end for that one. Okay, let's dive straight into key number 1. Now, key number 1 is a tough one for a lot of people to accept, and it's this: you are not entitled to a great life. I like John Legend. I think he's a bit of a legend and he's a good singer. Here's what John Legend has to say about deserving a good life. As Mr. Legend says, you may have been good all year and you may deserve it all, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get it. Mr. Rohn tells the story of the farmer. He's a hard worker. He's a good man. He's a very good family man, and he works hard in his fields every day from morning to dusk. And you would say that man, that farmer, is entitled to the harvest that he reaps. But the one day before he goes out, a hailstorm comes along and wipes out his entire crop. Now, that isn't fair, but it happens. It happens to all of us. We work hard, we deserve the rewards that Mr. Legend talks about, but we don't necessarily get them. So understand this: the very first key to taking full responsibility for your life is this: you may deserve it all, but you're not necessarily going to get it all. And that is just something we need to live with. But here's what I have found over my years: you don't always get what you deserve, but if you keep at it, and keep at it, the law of averages starts working in your favor. And then sooner or later, you do reap the rewards of that harvest and all the hard work you've put in. Key number 2 is this: remember this formula, never forget it. E plus R equals O. Now you might say, well, what do you mean E plus R equals O? Well, E is event, R is your response to that event, and O is the outcome. And you've got to understand, we can't always control events. At the moment, there's a war raging in the Ukraine. What did the people in Ukraine do wrong? The answer is absolutely nothing. It's an event. There's nothing much they can do about it. All you can do is decide on your response. How will you respond to the event happening in your life? Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camp at Auschwitz, said this: between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. So it's so important to put a space between the stimulus and our response. There's a gap there. And the bigger that gap is, the more we feel in control of our lives. So imagine you're driving down the road, someone cuts you off. Now, the very first thing you want to do is probably jump on the horn, right? But sophisticated people, more mature people, they will put a gap between that stimulus and that response. Mr. Rohn actually says, replace frustration with fascination. So the next time someone cuts you off on the freeway or the highway, don't get frustrated, get fascinated. Say, wow, isn't that fascinating? as to why they would cut me off. I'm the first to admit it's not going to work every time, but I would encourage you to try it. So that's step number 2. Key number 3 is this: give up 3 things. Give up blaming, give up complaining, and give up making excuses. Mr. Rohn tells the story of Moses leading the chosen people out of Egypt, one of the great biblical stories. And even though he led them out of Egypt, he led them to freedom for the first time in decades, when they got to the desert, they complained about the food, they complained about the lack of water, they whined about the leadership, and in the end, God essentially said, that's it, I've had enough, trip cancelled. Which really means even God has his limits on patience. Key number 4 is this: don't ignore the alarm bells. We're coming to the end of 2022. In the first 9 months of this year, Australians lost close to $500 million to scams. And most of those scams were for making money or investment schemes. There's an old saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And unfortunately, many of us ignore the gut feeling, the alarm bells that are ringing in our head when we look at something and we go, geez, I could make a quick buck here. Now this year, I made a couple of bad recruiting mistakes. I employed a couple of people I should never have employed. You know, the sort of people that go, I wonder how early I can leave, how late can I start, how long can I take for lunch? You know, I'm sure you all have worked with people like that. Anyway, I made a couple of those big mistakes this year. And I had a couple of friends and fellow teammates say to me, oh, Will, don't feel too bad. You know, it really wasn't your fault. But it was. I made the decision to recruit them. So I have to accept that I created that situation. I've got to take full responsibility for it. Fortunately now, we have a great team and it's all working well. But remember, wherever you are right now, you have created that situation or you have allowed it to happen. So that's key number 5. Now, at the beginning of this video, I promised you a bonus, but before we go to the bonus, could you take a moment to like this video? And if you found it useful, maybe even subscribe to the channel. I put a new video out every week and I'm really excited about sharing Mr. Rohn's philosophies in 2023 and beyond. Okay, so let's go to that bonus. And the bonus is this. It's a personal inventory list. It's a way of deciding where you are right now. Now, this is available in the link below. If you want the PDF and fill this out for yourself, you can see here that I've actually done mine for this year. I had a sit down actually before this video and thought, okay, let's have a quick review of where I am. So I've been generally happy with the year, but I'm still not happy with my weight and my health. I thought I was going to lose 7 kilos this year. It hasn't happened. I'm disappointed in that, and I need to take full responsibility for that. As I said in key number 5, take full responsibility for where you are right now. If you look in the mirror and you're not happy with what you see, you've got to say, I'm responsible. I've created that. I've allowed that to happen. A lot of people don't want to take responsibility for where they are. They want to blame governments, they want to blame their fellow neighbors or the people they work with. And the problem with blaming others for the situation you find yourself is that you become powerless. You can't do anything about it. The great thing about taking full responsibility, the great thing about doing a personal inventory like this one, is you can look at it and you say, okay, I've created that, but I now have the power to change it. And that really is the great benefit of taking full responsibility. It puts you in control. Okay, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I know you'll enjoy the video I did on the 10 steps to becoming the very best version of yourself, maxing out your life. That's available right there, part 1. I know you will get a lot from that. Now, go out, take full responsibility for your life and where you are right now. You will thank me in the future.